Good afternoon, family, and welcome back to Journey to Harmony. My name is Wes. I'm your host today. And today I thought it would be a good idea just to go over just our experience in terms of being first-time homebuyers. My wife couldn't be available today, but I'm here and we'll look to talk just a little bit more about that process, what we went through. So we were planning at the beginning of 2020. We were kind of going back and forth in our mind whether or not we would remain in the state we were in or move back toward where our family was located. So what happened was in January of that year, of 2020, we decided we're like, you know what, let's go ahead and try and see what happens. And if something good works out, so be it. If not, we can plan on preparing to move back. Our lease was ending, and we're just looking for what direction to go in. So we started off the process. We had spent a few years getting our credit together, preparing ourselves as best as possible for that day when we were ready to purchase a home, and the time had finally come. So January happens, where we're just looking through things, getting our documents in order, and then COVID happens, and it feels like the whole world kind of stopped at that point. At that point, we decided to continue pushing on. So while everything was waiting, we had our lease were ending in a few months. We just continued on. So we went ahead, we applied. COVID stopped everything, I think, in March of 2020. And we went ahead and applied for our first pre-qualification in May. So that was probably like a month or so afterwards. And we were approved. So coming out of COVID, as everyone else knows, housing market was on fire during that time period. We would go to showings, things would get posted on Thursday. By the time we arrived on Saturday, we'd be advised that the seller had already accepted an offer. So this lasted for some time. We're going back and forth. We had another place that we were interested in. We put in an offer. There was one of two people, and the person ended up taking another person's offer. So that was a bit disheartening. It wasn't exactly how we planned or how we hoped, but we continued on even still. So from there, we then found a place up in the northwest area of our particular city. And it was a nice place, pretty decent and everything. So we put in an offer with the seller. At that point, the house had been on the market for a little while. We went, took a visit. We liked everything that we saw, hardwood flooring, a nice updated kitchen, space for us to grow into and everything. So at that point, we went and put in an offer. We were accepted for the offer, so we're excited, planning as best as possible now what steps to take from here. We started packing. The process itself is pretty extensive. So we were asked to have, obviously, your last 2 years of W-2s. You had to have bank statements. You had to have everything and more that they required. So we were getting all these things together. We're in contact with our loan officer constantly. We had to print off documents, sign documents, send them back. Halfway through, they decide that they don't know exactly where the documents are, so they ask you to resubmit the same documents that you've already submitted. And this went on for a little while. So by July now, we're preparing for closing. Everything has gone according to purpose. It's been a hard-fought battle. We've told our apartment complex, where we're moving out, is getting ready to purchase our home. Everything's looking like it's finally settling down. And then 3 days before closing, the seller, our agent, calls us and tells us that the sellers were not approved for their home, so they're not going to sell to us. So we're just thinking about, so no problem. Let's go ahead. Let's talk to our apartment complex. Let's go from there, and we can start this process all over again. It's a little bit disheartening. Like you said, like if you have been through that process of being outbid, it is not something that you will want to continue on in. But we decided that we're just going to continue on anyway. We went to our apartment complex to talk to them, and we were advised that they had already leased our apartment. So now we were expecting to close on that Friday, and then we had a week after that to be able to get out of the apartment. So now we don't have an apartment, and we still have a week to get out. So we're a bit confused. We're sitting down thinking, all our stuff's already packed. We're looking at hotel stays as we, try to possibly wait for a place to come available that we can find. So we're just searching for opportunities, seeing how much they cost at the time. A few of them were asking for about $3,000 or $4,000 for a 1 month stay. at their hotels, and we're like, that's not the greatest use of our time and our money. We have to use this money for closing costs and different things like that. So we're sitting down just considering, and then the idea pops in our head. We're like, you know what, we have an aunt and uncle out of state, and they're in a pretty good location. Why don't we just ask them to see what they say? So we get on the phone, we call my aunt and uncle, and graciously, by the grace of God, they accept us, and they let us know that, you know, in the meantime, between the time that we arrive and the time that we need to close, that we can stay at their house. So this all happened on a Tuesday. We scheduled our agent again to go out on Thursday to go and look at a house. You know, hearts are down at this point. My wife is pregnant for the first time. So it was 2020 was a crazy year, really. I think everyone, for the most part, can experience that. So, you know, we go out on that Thursday. We had a few houses that we were planning on looking at. We show up at this particular house. It's a little bit south of South Metro, and everyone is not exactly happy. It seems so far compared to where we're coming from. It's about a 30-minute drive from the downtown area, so it's no big deal. But we get there, you know, looking outside, everything looks pretty normal. We walk inside, and immediately, we had not agreed on much in terms of housing, but immediately we both were captivated by this particular home. It was enough bedrooms for all of us. It was space for us to grow in. Good enough space for some of my mechanical things like saws and hammers and all these other things that I use in the garage. So we went ahead, we spoke to the agent, we put in an offer. This was in July, so things said calm down a bit at that point, and the location helped us a lot because many people didn't want to be in that part of the city. So for us, we ended up putting an offer, and the offer was accepted. So from there, we accepted our offer. We put in the documentation of what we needed. I think we put down a pretty minimum amount for earnest money, and from there we began to pack. So that Saturday we put our stuff in storage, got our plane tickets, and we were off on the road and turned in our keys for our apartment, and that was it. So we flew off to our space on the East Coast where we could stay with our aunt and uncle, and we were we were just hanging out, you know, just doing homework. We were blessed we were able to work remotely during that time period. So for about 6 weeks, we were just in a different state, getting everything that we needed done until it was time for closing. My wife was further along right now, so, you know, you can imagine, you know, some of the issues and things that young ladies deal with during that pregnancy period. So all in all, it was a real blessing. We got a chance to spend time with my aunt and uncle, who we're very grateful for the work that they did, and allowing us to be close to them during that time period. Our family was nearby, so we were able to visit and all that other things that we normally wouldn't be able to do. And at that point, we were able to fly back to our home for closing, the day before closing. We arrived back here and, you know, stayed the night at our friend's home. Wake up in the morning and our car had been impounded. We parked in a space that said don't park here. So we went, picked up our car, paid the fee, unfortunately. But, you know, all in all, everything worked out well. So the overall process, I'm sure you guys heard a lot about it. It is a lot of paperwork for sure. It's some things that you're going to have to deal with. But all in all, it was a learning experience. It was a great feeling. And then finally, once we're able to close on the home, it was everything and more. So we've been here now 2 years, going on 3 years. And, you know, we're still very much blessed, and thank God all the days, you know, we sit down in our living room a lot and look around and say, how is it that we live here, you know? But it's not because of anything that we've done. It's not because of we're better than anyone else, but the Lord made an opportunity for us, and we were able to achieve what we wanted during that time period. So if you're in your process looking to purchase your first home, I know it's a really competitive market. In some places things have come down, other places things are still the same. Be patient, you know, do your best, pay off debt during that time period, and do your best to get your credit as best as possible, because opportunities do present themselves. And when they do present themselves, you want to be as ready as you possibly can, and be able to capitalize when that moment comes. There's so much to complain about. There's so many different things that we can say is not working out for us, but I advise us to do our best to just continue to focus on what's important. to gather ourselves as best as we can and go from there. So nothing's ever going to be perfect, but if you do what's required of you every step of the way, continue to push yourself and to give God the space to bless you. Things will work out for you. So please, if you haven't yet, please subscribe. We look forward to hearing more, and please leave your comments or thoughts, or if your experiences of how you have purchased your home, what was that experience like for you? And look forward to more videos coming from Journey to Harmony. Thank you.